Hello everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It's been 2 days since I last played this game, and I believe, if I remember my tired brain correctly, that I stopped off kind of right at the end of investigation, or in the middle of one, rather, I suppose, because I was tired and my brain wasn't working. So hopefully we can find whatever it is I'm supposed to find here, because clearly there's something I'm supposed to find here. So let's figure things out. I can't converse. We can't move anywhere, so we can only examine. So let's look for things that maybe I missed when I was tired. Oh, aha, here's something I missed. This is a European-style quiver of arrows with steel bolts inside. Oh, do you suppose? Crossbow bolts, these. And just the right size for the bow you lot turned up at the exhibit grounds. Sorry, exhibition grounds. In other words... Yep, that's more evidence to support your theory. All goes to show that Drebber was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes of the whole scam. The details of the crossbow have been updated in the court record. Thud. Oh. Is something wrong, Miss Susato? Well, I thought I heard a noise from the far side of that door. Well, Gina, did you hear it too? Yeah, I heard it all. What do you reckon, Toby? Right, mind the grease. Whoever's in there, open up. This is Scotland Yard. I think they just left. Oh my, someone is in there. Oh, this rotten bleeding lock. My dear Gregson, as I said only minutes ago, if only it were countenanced, I could unlock that door in less than a minute. What does countenanced mean? Fine, I'll take the rap for it. Just get us through that blasted door. Hold on. Countenanced. I don't think I've heard that before. Admit, admit as acceptable or possible. He was reluctant to countenance the use of force. Huh. I haven't heard that before. To extend approval or toleration to sanction. Interesting. What is the definition of countenance biblically? Alright. Kind of fun to see. Anyway. There. You may enter at will. You've confused minutes with seconds, I think. Time is of the essence, I feel. What are we waiting for? Nothing for it, I suppose. This is an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond that door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow. Yes! I have a feeling that he's gone already. Given that we heard the, like, clunk of a door. Or maybe he hasn't left. Do you think he's in the safe? Like he's hiding in, like, here or there. Whoa, wait, there's... Oh, he's gone at the skylight. What happened here? Why is everything upside down? Is that TNT? Right, there ain't no one in after all. But there must be. It was only moments ago that we heard those noises. Maybe that was the sound of Drebber running away. But there's only one door into this room. And no windows that could afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high. I beg to differ? Look at this. What's that up there? Are they footprints on the ceiling? Blow me. What have we here then? Greg said. That's not polite wording to say. Looks like someone was trying to burn something in a hurry. Oh, that looks like a set of blueprints. To what? To that Professor Hairbrain's bombing machine, is it? Blimey, we had these. There'd been no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There's something of great interest here, too. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar. A rope? What significance about that? Never mind. You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo. We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before the forensic investigation team arrive too. Okay. I'm mostly concerned about this. Like, I mean, this is another obvious clue, but, you know, this bit. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this? Let's see. Never seen anything like it before. It looks like a bundle of thick cigars wrapped in a large watch to me, but... Miss Susato, what's the matter? Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it? What did you say? A time bomb? Sorry, but what is a time bomb exactly? Oh, you truly are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I won't take that as a compliment. You don't know nothing, do you, Odo? You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina? I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it has a very similar appearance. Oh, thank goodness. But then, what is it? I see. So that's it? Goodness. Mr. Sholmes, have you seen to the heart of the matter? There are times when I consider my lot most unfair. For I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. But I have learned to accept the hardships that come with being a great detective, Miss Susato. Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming. Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of Drebber himself. Oh, but how could you... And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is, without question, completely genuine. Please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything. It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard the finer points of the trade. Oh, look at his face. Oh, Gregson. What's good? Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway. Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done. You're too kind, my dear madame. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mr. Susato. Oh, yes, I'd be delighted. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Really? Okay. I didn't expect to, like, examining the bomb to be the trigger for this whole thing. Alright. Look, she's so excited. Excuse me. She's so happy. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down onto the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling? Oh, are you suggesting that... Safe 43 something 582. Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed, and then suddenly restored to normal. Goodness. The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Miss Susato. I, too, was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device, almost identical to one that featured in a dream of mine only the other day, in fact. Her face going through it all. But why then does it have a clock on it? A most relevant question indeed. That is a timing device that controls when the gravity direction will switch. There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically. And the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was the moment that restoration occurred. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. So you see, we need look no further to explain the state in which we now find this room. The direction in which gravity acts in here was reversed by Mr. Drebber before being restored to normality in an automatic fashion sometime later by the timer device. I've witnessed precisely the scene in a dream I once had when I fell out of bed. Oh, Sholmes. What does he do when we're not around, is my question. Let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madame. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Drebber's aim was singular, to escape. However, there's but one way into this room, excepting the skylight, that is. Ah. By inverting the gravity in here, Drebber was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind on the way. But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. If the gravity reversal was sudden, wouldn't Mr. Drebber have fallen up to the ceiling rather violently? Falling up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. But the man was cornered with nowhere to run, so escape through the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? By anchoring one end to the wall, the man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling. Which explains how Drebber was able to escape this room before our arrival. Are you sure it was the balloon? He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun. I would like to reverse the course of this deduction, please. Oh, Sholmes. You're so silly. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. She's completely spellbound. Mr. Sholmes, there's just one thing that troubles me. I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life. The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean. I will say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis. So he's just having a lark then. But your whole deduction hinges on it. Ah, but my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. However improbable it may seem. It's a marvelous line, wouldn't you agree? One of my more enduring pools of wisdom. I'll be able to speak English one day, don't worry. I had Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy. Yes, I have a feeling I've read it in something that Miss Susato lent me once. Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the spell's broken at last. And we've got another case of her objection line. The rope you found was on the floor, wasn't it? Indeed it was. In lonely coils near the wall. But if Mr. Drebber had used it to escape in the way you described, wouldn't it still be tied to the wall? Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you'll find due ropes. And as evidence as such, you need only look at the mystery you face in this room, now skillfully unraveled. That argument is as circular as the coils of rope. I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholme the usual little helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections, the great deduction's great deduction will lead us to the truth. Sorry, the great detective's great deduction. Yes, you're right. And we must do it quickly, before Drebber gets too far away. And before that bomb goes off. If you're ready, then let us resume. Herlock Sholme's logic and reasoning. Spectacular. Course correction. Okay, now hold the phone real quick. Okay, so I know we're in the middle of a deduction, but I kind of want to do something real quick. It won't take long. I just need to see, is it in these? Okay, it is in the title. So give me one moment. I want to change their outfits because we have yet to like use the special outfits that are unlocked. And I'd like to see them, I think. Taylor, here we go. So let's have, yeah, because they're only available in this one. I really like her normal kimono, but let's check him out in this. We'll put him in that. Okay. We'll put them in these for the duration of at least this Reasoning Spectacular. Oh my gosh. Bespoke Taylor for playing the game in all available outfits. Oh, I got an achievement for this. Oh, look, she's so fucking cute. And look at him. Oh, he's got... Oh, I want one. I want one of these so badly. The number of times that I've looked up... gosh, my brain... Kiseru. The number of times I've looked up Kiserus and like just looked at them on like eBay and be like, man, I want one of these. Like, it's happened at least 3 times, which is more than probably your average person has looked them up and like longingly thought about getting one. But that's great. I like that he has one. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the tables and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down onto the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Oh, are you suggesting that? Indeed, the key here is gravity. Okay, when are we gonna jump in here? It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the earth. Well, the gravity in this room was reversed, and then suddenly restored to normal. Goodness. The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room, I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Oh, their portraits don't change in this. Only Mr. Sholme could conceive of such an explanation, but the man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so... Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once. Oh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Susato. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he? Well, refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices, yes. Yes, I suppose so. Well, let's see if examining this topsy-turvy scene a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. Large safe. Upright. Oh. Okay. Wait, how come I can't? It's not examining. Okay, there we go. Well, I wasn't expecting to find a pretty bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Look at that. I know, that slender little vase looks like it's about to topple at any moment. But the flowers are thriving. Somehow it makes you think of the fragility of life, wouldn't you say? To be honest, Mr. Naruhodo, something else about it made a rather deeper impression on me. mean, it's going to be that because that's still upright. I do want to examine the safe, though. Look, Miss Sato. Look, Mr. Sato. When everything seems to be upside down in here, this safe is conspicuously the right way up. Have you noticed? Yes, that's true. But look more closely at the safe's feet. Ah, that's a lot of very large bolts fixing it to the floor. Think before you speak. That's what you wanted to say, isn't it? I really put my foot in my mouth there. I certainly didn't say that. Interesting. I mean, this would support his theory. Well, this does not. Okay, I can't rotate any further that way, so it's got to be this then. Although I am mildly curious what their commentary is at the very least. All the furniture in here is very conspicuously upside down, certainly. Yes, it does immediately put you in a mind of some strange quirk of gravity, I admit. Oh, could it be that the mini whirlwind passed through here, do you think? I'm not sure that's much more plausible than Mr. Sholme's explanation. Oh dear. Saying the first thing that comes into your head isn't the way forward here, it seems. Oh look, they're taking pages out of each other's books.
Take that!
The upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you've surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps. Yeah, who wouldn't? Look at her. Look at that cute outfit. No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes, trust me. As you rightly say. Though it appears at first glance that all the furniture in the room is upside down. And this unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safe, there's nothing affixing it to the floor. And it's the exception that breaks the rule. In short, much as it pains me, the gravity in this room was never inverted at all. My deepest sympathies for your loss. Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes. But the show must go on, so let us continue with our deductions. Now that we know that this contrivance is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility. You don't say. Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here. Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that? Quite. And naturally there's an exception. Sorry, an explanation. Yes. The reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. He is absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he? I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that someone did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it must have been had a reason. I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though. Well, let's look around and see if the answer presents itself. Oh, it's probably because they were looking for the combination for the safe, right? Look, there's something written on the underside of this armchair. Oh yes, safe. 432582. Safe? As in safe and secure? As in secure lockbox, I think. Secure lockable box. Admittedly more likable. Well, there's a large safe bolted to the floor on the other side of this room, so yes. So you mean this number would let us open it? I wonder why it's written here, though. Coal burning heater? That is oddly specific. Oh, it's this thing. That's a coal burning heater, I think, isn't it? Yes, it is. But it's not just for heating, you know. You can grill on it, bake in it, boil and steam things with it. So it's all sorts of purposes. That seems like having your cake and eating it too. Not unlike a heated kotatsu table with a Nabe hot pot, a Mekon orange, a cut, and an elderly relative. Oh, you mean it seems too much? I suppose perhaps it does. But you realize only some of those things on your list are edible, don't you? Yes, sadly the cat is not.
Take that!
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the safe combination. Precisely. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that you had a very similar experience once, did you not? Yes, last year, when I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of a book, just in case. That's it. For people who are forgetful souls at heart, and always make a written note of important information. Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think. And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo? When the day of the draw came round, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in, and had to turn my room upside down to find it. That's it. For people are forgetful souls at heart, and always forget where they've noted things down. What if you always note things in the same place? I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I'd slipped the ticket into, so I had to turn my room upside... Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo. But I believe I've proved my point now. Which is that a very similar scenario has clearly unfolded in this room. Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed a combination code. He remembered that he'd written it on the underside of a piece of furniture, but forgot which one. Leading to the state in which we now find this room. Yes, Mr. Drebber overturned all the furniture in here in a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe. It's kind of weird that it turns their back with us, but it's fine. This conclusion is going to change the inside the safe, isn't it? Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madame. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Probably the balloon? Well, if a change in the direction of the gravity can't explain it, then how did these footprints get up there? Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any other way to explain it at all. Oh, life was so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago, and those halcyon days never existed in the first place. Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and absorb the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into those situations in the first place. Probably the balloon. Oh. Wait, there's a shoe on the balloon. That's what the rope was for, I think, probably? This is a gas balloon, isn't it? It's tiny, but it does seem to be a real balloon. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's helium that's keeping it up. A green gas balloon. Why does that seem to ring a bell with me? If you can see, there are footprints on this balloon too. Look. Oh, yes. Surely that's a clue, isn't it? Though what it tells us, I'm not sure. Okay, well, is it the skylight? It looks like these are the only windows in the room. In other words, if you want to escape without using the door, these skylights would be the only way. Yes, that's true. But even so... And right next to the only escape route, we know some telltale footprints. Nevertheless, as we've said many times now, gravity can't explain how they got there. But powerful springs in the soles of the man's shoes could. Have you been having strange dreams as well? Like Mr. Sholmes? Spider-Man. Shoe. It's hard to believe, but there's a shoe up there. Look. Oh, yes. And there are more footprints on this little balloon too. Perhaps this shoe was thrown up there and became lodged, do you think? If so, then judging from the number of footprints, it must have been thrown up several times. Why would anyone be throwing shoes up at the ceiling, though? Oh dear. That's beyond me, I'm afraid. I think it's the shoe. Right? Like he threw the shoe up to make prints. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby shoe. And on closer inspection, there are clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never the skylight at all, but the balloon. But for what purpose? A green balloon. That seemed somewhat familiar, Data. Ah. Actually, do British people say data or data? I feel like it depends, because I've heard both before, so I don't know which is which. It was a piece of the green balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruhodo and Iris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon that Master Gortz claims he saw above the stage when the incident occurred was the second bird cage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deduction. You mean to say? If we assume the balloon in here is a model of the one used on the day, there's a strong possibility something may be concealed inside of it. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway. But the balloon's out of reach. Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely the shoe. Most probably, Drebber intended to tear a hole in the envelope by assailing it with the shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of those lofty heights. Oh dear, we desperately need to examine that balloon. If only there was some way we could see inside. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? Mr. Sholme has managed to bring the deduction back to the rope. Alright, I have to admit, that was clever. So we just throw the rope up to the balloon and then pull it down to us on the ground. Which is much easier said than done, I feel. And could take us a very long time as well. True. Perhaps we need a more surefire method. In fact, we already have one, of course, don't we?
Take that!
This is kind of cool. We're using our evidence to reach the intended destination. What better tool than this crossbow? That was found at the scene, in fact. In all likelihood belongs to Mr. Drebber. If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing his shoe at such a critical time as this. Yes, yes indeed. So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that Enoch Drebber has hidden inside that balloon? Did he hide himself? Oh, is it the wax mannequin's head? What the? A waxwork? Indeed it is. A waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock. So I can't see the face inside, that means. Just a moment, this is the head of a waxwork model. Does that mean... Oh goodness! I see you've joined the dots, Miss Susato. Excellent. Of course. A headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Tusspells model that you'd largely solved. It was only the head of the killer that was still missing. Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tusspells will now have to settle her sizable account with me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor. Yes. But why is it here? Look at this cute design on her hat. And she's got the sakuras, like the design that's normally on her kimono up there. Adorable. This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the presser from Madame Tusspells and returning it, sans cité, earlier today, was none other than Enoch Drebber. Sorry, Drebber. How do you say this? I don't know how to speak French. This is incredible. Professor Hairbrain's case and the waxwork abduction are... They're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop. Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. All that remains is... Yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure. The architect? You mean Mr. Drebber? It seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously, the man must still be here in the room. What? And his location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together during this deduction. Enoch Drebber is right here. Somewhere in this room. So... So, Mr. Naruhodo, will you do the honors? Yes, of course. Mr. Drebber's hiding place must be the Safe. Oh god. Oh jeez. The wardrobe, yes, definitely the wardrobe. The large safe, please. Look at all that mess in front of the safe. Yes, plans and accounting letters. Almost as if somebody was in a hurry to empty the contents of the safe, in fact. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with talking to the wardrobe. Sorry. And before we gained access to this back room, we heard noises from in here. Which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at that point in time. He was in fact searching for the combination to his safe. And pressed for time, made no attempt to write the furniture that he overturned in the process, from which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. Enoch Drebber is at this very moment inside the safe. And thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. Elementary, my dear chat room. Elementary. So, Mr. Naruto. Well, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide and seek, don't you? By opening the safe, you mean? What else? Let's see. The combination was 432582. Hey, I knew that. Alright then, here goes. Hello there. You found me. Wow. He is something. Okay, I like this guy. Right then, sir. Mr. Enoch Drebber, I presume? Correct. Better start talking. You tricked Professor Hairbrain with the bogus machine you built. And you shall have to explain the theft of the waxwork from Madame Tusspells as well. Whilst I would be delighted to answer your many questions. Personally, I would advise that you deactivate my little parcel first. Deactivate? Your parcel? I refer, of course, to the time bomb. I left it in the most prominent position. I see. Stunned silence. I don't know what voice to give this guy, but I really like his like weird hand thing. Wait, does he keep moving if I just let him? Yeah, he does. Amazing. You're gearing up to die with me then. No! Put it in the safe. Mr. Sholmes, with only 7 seconds to spare. That was too close for comfort. I've got 1 foot in the grave already. Are you trying to help us get a killer or get us killed? Mrs. Sholmes' deductions can be completely life-altering, can't they? Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. The resemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say. Anti-gravity devices don't exist. Phew. I wouldn't push it, Mr. Sholmes. Oh, he's got a good theme song, too. I would like to know more about the time bomb first, I think. Well, a death wish, have you? Hiding right beside the ticking time bomb. Please, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? It's no ordinary safe. Specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it. So in fact, the safe was the only safe place. Precisely. But once you'd climb inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again. I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be locked from within. Sorry, unlocked from within. Ha, so it is. I'd always intended to blow this place to smithers in any case. I just wasn't expecting an uninvited guest to come along and screw up my plans. Do you mean to say you were planning to blow us all up? No, that was unforeseen. What do you mean? Most people run, you see, when they see a ticking time bomb at their feet. Ah. I calculated the time required for a retreat to a safe distance and set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a span in the works. Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something on my face, besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth? I love his... I really like his glove. It's so cool. Like I want one. What on earth happened in here? You found me, haven't you? No need to screw down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems. Yeah, well, we'll be given a thorough going over, don't you worry, Drebber. What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt. Whistling? Huh, that would have been me. Oh. For some reason, I will confine Fettle today. No words, just tightly squeezed chips. I wish that I could describe, like, lunch like that sometimes. Clearly, I must have a screw loose, though, as I couldn't remember the combination for the safe. Another one loose, as I couldn't remember which piece of furniture I'd written it down. We also found a rope over by the wall. Yes, I had hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short. So, I then set about searching for the combination code to open the safe. And burning the incriminating blueprints, don't forget. Regrettably, though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon among the rafters. And after that, you hid yourself in the safe, having first set this parcel ticking. Well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police. I think we have a fairly good idea what's been going on here now, but what about the two incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? Professor Hairbrain's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Grey Exhibition, and the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to. That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the Professor, clad in a mask with a lock so strong I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying it around as protection. After all, that's enough! Oh, I thought it was Susato saying it. What's going on in here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here. Yes, well, Dr. Scythe again. So the forensic investigation team are here. And you know full well this engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him? If Lord Strongheart knew this, you'd be finished. You lot, leave at once. My dear madame, there's no need for such a threatening tone, I assure you. After all, that's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe? Hello, Sholmes. Mrs. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe? If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell, you. Get out! But of course, We'll show ourselves the door. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. It would appear that our delightfully entertaining investigations have run their course for today. But Mr. Sholmes... Let's just leave this place in the doctor's capable hands. I said get out! Now! All of you! Your presence here is not required either, Gregson. Understood. But I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer and his companions, we'd never have found this place. And the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb sitting here that this lot disarmed. Inspector. Something giving you a chuckle, has it, Drebber? So sorry. Didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one. Eh? What were you? That one? You mean... Did I just get a bad end? Oh. Oh, he put one in the... Oh, no. Damn. Well, I didn't see that one coming. And neither did Scotland Yard. It was an hour later that we heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage of the Great Exhibition. Professor Hairbrain's invention and all its secrets were blown away forever. To be continued. So we're going to keep going today, by the way. Don't worry, I'm not stopping. But, yeah, I'm glad that I didn't continue last time because that took 50 minutes and I would have been, like, completely baffled and stupid by the end of all of it. So, not that I wasn't baffled and stupid going into it and what have you, but anyways, let us continue our quest. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be, even I, with nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. Why, naturally. A true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I'll see you later then. Now, Professor, we really need to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but My dear fellows, I must interject. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction? Sorry, I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Herlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation, arose at some ungodly hour to be here now, first thing in the morning. A miracle, you must agree. Well, if I must agree, then. As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Iris had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Oh my, Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. Huh. I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, one who relishes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. Sorry to cut in. Oh, sorry to cut in. Oh, Inspector Gregson, good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow, why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Oh, I don't know. Because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me. Are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? What? I don't know. Poor Professor. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? Ha, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. It's the professor's autopsy report. That mass murderess who killed 5 members of the aristocracy. Geez, that word is hard to say when like you're not used to reading it and you like go like bit by bit to spell it out. You're like aristocracy. Aristocrat. Like also like my brain wants to say aristocats. just because that movie. Aristocracy. Okay, sorry, words are hard. I was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done on wraps. It was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. The slowly Lord the Yard are just doing what we can. In the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Alright, is the bailiff gonna yell at me now? Oh, not yet. Well then, Professor Hairbrain, this is it! Today we're going to lay all this to rest at last. Yes, we will, but first I want to examine this. Condemned prisoner? Death by hanging confirmed at midnight on the 17th of June by Courtney Stevens. Who's Courtney Stevens? Is this it? This is the autopsy report? That's it? I can't even rotate. Oh, okay. Seems kind of useless. Maybe there's that lock that they talked about. Wait, there's a latch. Can't you just undo that latch? This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal. I know. It's starting to make me feel livid, actually. Mr. Naruhodo, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. Oh, right. Sorry. You know what I find most interesting about this? This right here. Right, Mia? The fact that it has a little hoop for rope to go through. If they really did hang him, I wonder if they didn't actually hang him. You know, like they literally hung him from this. I wish you the best of luck, Professor. I suppose he'll be in that today, will he? Drebber? Yes. I expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed that you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much.
Counsel and the defendant. Trial's about to resume. Gotta make your way to the court at once. Bailiff.
That's what they sound like. This is it then. The final chapter. Funny, my heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. This strange foreboding. As if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. Alright, the 24th of October. The Old Bailey. Oh yes, there's Cosma. Or the the person we assume is Cosmo, at least.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Hairbrain, here present, who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution and defense ready to proceed?
The prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. I don't know if I want to wear this during this. Honestly. As promised, Lord von Zieks has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. Hold on. You know what? I'm kind of curious. Okay, we're gonna keep the we're gonna keep this outfit on for a little bit longer because it doesn't have our armband on it. Cosmos. I wonder if this will actually be useful. It doesn't have our armband on it, so like when he gets nervous, like what is he gonna push up?
If I may, Lord von Zieks.
Yes, my lord.
There appears to be someone standing at your side.
Yes. My apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments, by the look of it. The way he holds himself, the way he moves, it couldn't be anyone else. Oh. Oh, yeah, he just does the motion, but doesn't have anything to push up. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. Alright, I want to swap him back, at least, because I don't like that he's doing the animation without the armband. Back to title, please. Yes, I'm aware. I just saved. It's fine. Okay, so let's not have the homemade suit. Though Iris, you know, definitely has a style. I wish that this didn't have the hat, honestly. I feel like it would be significantly cuter without the hat. Or maybe if the hat was smaller, like one of those tiny ones. Maybe we could leave her. I'm torn on Susato's because it is really cute. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but this is so very hard.
It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demand the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question.
Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Sorry, I need to, like, clear my throat. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I muted while I made some unsightly noises and faces to get that out of me.
Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who've been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today, are you ready and willing to proceed?
Of course, my lord. Sure we all understand the importance of doing our civic duty.
I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing. What's going? Oh, he's just dropping cards like a madman. Silly. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick. It is against the magician's code, not to mention the law.
Only fake scientists should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me.
We have to listen to what says on both sides of the fence and, you know, consider on one. That's it, isn't it?
Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all.
If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Wanseeks.
Before I do, my lord, there's a report I must read to the court. Yesterday at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion affected by an unknown person or persons.
What? An explosion? This is an outrage.
Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers, and the wreckage reduced to ashes in the flames.
I have here a photographic print of the scene, taken in the wake of the explosion. Why? It shows what little remains of the machine, and the open trapdoor, I see.
Oh, yes, a terrible business.
He did it to destroy the evidence, did he? That Enoch Traveller.
The court will take this print as evidence, counsel.
Late yesterday afternoon, the protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity.
Indeed. Most unfortunate state of affairs.
However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. For it was the accused himself who was operating the machine and who ultimately caused its loss of control. As Lord Von Zeeks rightly says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Osmond died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters.
Names, counsel, if you please.
The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Osmond. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. Look at Naruhodo. Look at him go. Establishing things.
Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Von Zeeks, summon your first witness, please.
At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand. Yeah, you do. You get him, man. Okay. State your name and occupation for the court. Name. Enoch Drebber. Occupation. Hard to pin down, I would say. See that black monocle? Yes, why do I feel as though I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too! Oh, I had exactly the same feeling myself. Black monocle. Where's the, I mean, there's this one. But where's the newspaper? Oh, here it is. Okay. Sorry, I was just wondering if he appeared in this one at all.
Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? A most extraordinary sounding business.
But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Cleave it from your mind. You are familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment, or so our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it, in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all. Then the court would be very interested to hear about your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. What?
Good gracious. Do you mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir?
Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew up. But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick. You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of staged trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. But...
We've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration of the Great Exhibition.
Understood. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago, through Mr. Osmond's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints, and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads, and then crash headfirst into the Crystal Tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. A body double? That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. The basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Osmond had no twin siblings.
It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex scientific machine.
Whatever do you mean?
Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber.
Indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science there. Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If a hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sniveling talentless scientists in the past.
Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was
an unfortunate accident? Or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science?
Counsel for the defense. Your cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. I wonder if his trophies are fake. Beep, 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 beep. Hold on, examine it. Excuse me. Can I look at this? I've looked at it before, I guess, but that was the last time and I forgot about it. Version talent. Does it actually... I mean, is this really his? Couldn't it just have been given to him? I wonder if the body double is somehow going to be the professor. So, you were already acquainted with Mr. Osmond himself? Not really. By chance. I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for. So, why did Mr. Osmond approach you in particular, then? Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering. Not to mention excellence in fraud. Hard to gauge. But the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given. In other words, the kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has a mind like no other. It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic, however. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. But your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind. And there's nothing left of that device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear. He must have planned all of this from the outset. Do we really not have, I guess we have this. Photograph of the balloon. It's probably going to be kind of important, I would think. We really didn't get much, like we didn't get many clues when we explored because I looked directly at the bomb. But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been a trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? Of course, that's it! Mr. Osmond was a twin! Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Osmond had no twin siblings. No, I heard you before, but the thread of hope hadn't quite left me. The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. Scythe absolutely ruled that out as a possibility. It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Osmond, did move from the stage of the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Osmond then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto? Oh, no, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is plain on my mind. Or the spectators saw the birdcage above their heads and then crashed headfirst into the tower. I'll do it in a second, but... Wait, look, we can't see people. Someone who looks like this. Monocle. Short hair, mustache. No mustache, no short hair. It crashed head first, you say? According to the many witness reports from those there at the time, yes. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day? Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene. Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd labored over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes. The birdcage plummeting headfirst into the tower. What a surprise. I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it? How would you have come by that information? Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body. Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant, and he had broken vertebrae as a result of a fall from a considerable height. Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such things can be determined. What we do know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. And since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken, it's obvious that he fell from a considerable height. I suppose that's hard to deny. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. So you understood the science, did you? Not in the slightest. Oh, right. As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. I'd be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest the ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example. But how is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies on? Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you? Burn. A very good point. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruto. The point is, the experiment resulted in instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis. He's certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruto? Well, now that the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's going to be impossible to argue its authenticity one way or the other. But if we are able to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery, rather than genuine science, we have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Hairbrain's innocence. Both Mr. Ozma and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his naivety and his unbending belief in his work. I won't let them get away with it. I don't know why I can't read. It's like, I know why I can't read. It's because, like, when you're reading your head, you got one speed, and then there's the speed your mouth moves at, and they're very different. And seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Von Zeke's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Drebber? So, perhaps... Oh shit, I didn't mean to... Okay, I don't remember if, who made the blueprints. Was it him, or was it the other one? Let's see, auto report. Neck was broken. Diagram sketch. There's no way to tell if this is someone else, huh? The cage... Wait a minute. Oh, wait. This fell on its base. That wouldn't have broken the guy's neck. Yeah, it's this, right? I did save, right?
Objection.
We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the Crystal Tower ourselves. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Following the explosion that fell some 30 feet into the glass of the Crystal Tower, that level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top.
What are you saying?
That's the opposite of where they should be.
That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the Crystal Tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two birdcages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Oh. I don't know why they highlight parts of what he says. Like, I assume it's for emphasis, but that last one was weird.
Good gracious, explain yourself, witness.
Well, if we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower.
But multiple witnesses report claims it fell headfirst.
The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion, at an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level.
Which is approximately 18 meters.
It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the Crystal Tower in the ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
But the victim's neck was broken.
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed.
A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebrae, actually. He wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Von Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here.
Ah, yes. And there's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten.
It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth very plainly demonstrates. What?
It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with the details of this truth.
Of course. We must treat the matter scientifically, after all. Ugh, I nearly had him there. Really? Wait, does he do it again? Damn, he didn't. The kinesis clearly took place, because there's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. What about the tower? I want to save because we now have that new bit. So I guess we ought to press him on it. Nowhere else 30 high. I mean, could it not have just been like from the tower itself? Or a balloon? I feel like the piece of green cloth is like the thing to go against this here, but I want to press. I want to dig in. What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Osborne on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell. And there's no other location for which the cave could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage into the sky above the crystal tower.
A stringent scientific analysis. Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible.
Oh yes, it's all very well thought out. Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean. Irritatingly, yes. But he could have also broken his neck when the floor gave out underneath him, right? Can I please go back? Okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it must be this, right? That we need to explain. Do I have evidence that contradicts it, though? Where else could he have fallen from? Actually, how high up is the stage itself? Also this. Right here. I kind of want to try this. It is not that one. That last statement would seem to be at odds somehow with the evidence.
It is your task, Counsel, to explain the somehows to the court, not the other way around.
Just seems hard though, don't you think?
What I think is that this whole exchange has been extremely jarring, yes.
Perhaps I need to reconsider this. So not that then. Would appear to be from the clock tower. Maybe we need to use this. And it'll be like pointed out kind of thing, because he could have fallen from here. Okay, this is it. 1 second. Sorry, I just want my my health back. I bet you it's gonna use that other piece of evidence though. Because like we'll say this and then it's like, but how? And then we'll point out to the hole. This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in mid-air before falling down to the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No.
Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, Counsel.
Yes, my lord. Of course.
You will indicate the place to which you are referring on this same diagram. The alternate location for which the birdcage should possibly have fallen.
Right here.
Take that!
The place I'm referring to is here.
But that's... where the birdcage would have been to begin with.
Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine or the stage, but what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself.
Go on, Counsel.
It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's about the same height above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and we assumed there to be a void underneath. This birdcage and the one seen by the audience have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
Objection!
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at this photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion.
Good lord! The metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone.
Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. So he fell, but didn't die. And so then Drebber stabbed him with the screwdriver to try to finish him off. But how did he get the body? How did he get the body up to where the police were going to get at it, though? That's my question. Mr. Drebber. It was you who built the kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Hairbrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters, a machine designed to take Mr. Osmond's life, and lay the blame firmly at the Professor's door, something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber. That was a fascinating bit. If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions, the prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely. What? Your argument fails to hold water on 2 counts. 2? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff from the exhibition has attested to that.
And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment.
In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages. But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense with the crossbow. That doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point. And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. A motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? Well, what's Hairbrain's motive? The money? He clearly doesn't care. I have here a contract provided by the witness.
What contract is this, Lord Von Zeeks?
The contract into which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Osmond. It reads, Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income.
30%? Certainly very favorable contractual conditions.
But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause. Sorry. What provision?
Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive.
In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Osborne's death. The diametric opposite, in fact.
Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest is nil.
Seems the defensive assertions were somewhat wide of the mark. What one seeks to submit the contract as evidence, please.
It's true. If Drebber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage and the one in the Crystal Tower, he couldn't have done it. In any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been.
Maybe he just hated the guy. Ever think about that? Maybe he got slighted in some way. Or maybe he's actually the professor somehow. Because we know that in the Wax Museum exhibit... Yeah. In the Wax Museum exhibit, it's Drebber who has seen the professor's possible face, I guess, of him rising from the grave or whatever. So he would know who it was, if it is the same person. Alright, show me this contract. Okay. Odie is going to fund labor and materials for construction of this thing. Mr. Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations, the government grants or other income. Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. So there's no... Interesting. So it's just a contract between him and Drebber. Like, Hairbrain isn't in this at all. Did Hairbrain even know about the 30%? Shouldn't his name be on here as well?
There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo. And I've no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths too.
Well, it would seem the defense has no rejoinder to offer.
Well, I must say I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled.
But the prosecution counter has set the record straight, I think.
It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Objection.
I'm gonna object to that shit right there, asshole.
At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage. Yet now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit.
Get to the point.
The staged demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So if circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself, it points to the fact that someone else was involved.
Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting?
Yes, my lord. Mr. Drebber had an accomplice.
An accomplice now. Well then, I presume, you're prepared for what's to come. Now that you're accusing not only this witness but someone else of the most serious of crimes. If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander.
Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this court and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter?
I have no idea who we accuse.
What do I do here? At the moment, this is a little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Mr. Drebber had an accomplice, or if he even really is the culprit. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear, as a lawyer. So what's my stance going to be? Did Drebber have an accomplice or not?
I don't know.
I wish I could see the people tab. Oh, there it is. People tab. An accomplice. Boss of a large crime organization. Oh. It would have to be her. Right? Right? She's the only person who could make a body double. And maybe the reason why he stole the head of the professor was to get her to make it for him? Or something like that? Or he agreed to model for her thing if she made him one of Audiosman? She's the only one that would make sense, because it's not the balloon man. The defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice. Somehow the two bird cages must have been switched. Everything points to that. Yet according to the coroner's report, that's not a possibility. But that inconsistency itself is a clue.
Counsel,
My lord.
you have received a stock warning already. If you are nevertheless determined, I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer, please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice?
Me. No, I'm kidding. Tusspells.
Take that!
Who is this person?
Someone intimately related to the crime, my lord. And someone you surely wouldn't say you don't know.
Yes, thank you. I am aware of the person, obviously. But on what basis do you claim felonious involvement?
You surely wouldn't say you don't know, would you?
Ah, shit, it's not her. I'm sure you simply slipped and pointed to the wrong person, didn't you? There's no other explanation.
No slip-ups this time, please, Counsel. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice?
Okay, now I'm confused. If it's not her, then who? It's not going to be him. Doubt it's her. Maybe, Balloon Man? Is it? I mean, it seems kind of weird to say that Odie Osmond is an accomplice in killing himself. Unless they're just trying to fake his death? Would that make sense? Is it like, is he not actually dead and they're just trying to fake it? Or am I actually going down the wrong path here and they're just kind of letting me flounder? That could be, that could probably be it, maybe. Sorry, I'm just trying to think who it could be besides the guy. Like, maybe it's it can't be the balloon guy, right? could it have been? Out of the options that we have, it's not Susato, it's not Iris, it's not Herlock. Not Strong Hard. It wouldn't make any sense. Odie Osmond, if he's trying to pretend to be dead, he's doing a good job of it. It's not Van Zeeks. Or the Masked Man. Naming Hairbrain wouldn't make any sense because we know he's innocent. Can't be Gina. Obviously not Gregson. We already tried Esmeralda, which leaves these three. The coroner maybe isn't on it, because the reason that we're asserting that it had to be the same, like when we were saying there was one birdcage, it was because of the coroner's report. Why would? Is it because they both have white hair? Is that the connection? I don't, like, one of Lawrence Hargan's most trusted allies. Like this seems like a weird person to accuse. But if it's not Esmeralda, then it's got to be the coroner, right? It's not the boy. It's got to be one of these two, because the balloon man, I guess, could have put the cage up in the balloon, or something like that. There's zero motive there, though. Is it her? What motive would she have? You. The name of the person in question is... What's wrong, my Nipponese friend? Surely fear doesn't bind your tongue now. It's a little late for that. Of course I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. I could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me. I'm sure it'll be alright, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Mr. Susato. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you all appear exactly the same to the enemy? Alright then, here goes. You've kept us waiting long enough. Your answer, Counsel, now. The person who colluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Scythe.
What the blazes are you talking about? Dr. Scythe?
The head of the forensic investigation team, and the coroner who conducted the autopsy on the victim.
We know there were 2 bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators, and the area was immediately sealed off. Then everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could the switch have occurred? It can only have been in that team's presence. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the accident. The defense demands that Dr. Scythe be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify. I mean, okay, he has a point.
You've got a nerve, lad. Standing up there, dragging the yard's name through the mud.
I didn't mean to.
I know the woman very well. There's no better dead room worker out there. How dare you call her a criminal?
My learned friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument. One which the prosecution demands you address at once.
A grave problem? Oh my word.
Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger?
Wait, what?
Certainly. If the birdcage containing the body of the victim was exchanged for another, that cage must also have contained a body.
And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone even remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one, dead or alive, who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Osmond.
That's true. If my argument is that there were 2 bird cages, there must also have been one person inside of each. But I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? What can I do to reveal how this body double stunt was achieved? Evidence. Evidence. We have the head. Because it's the mannequin, right? Very well. The defense will address my learned friend's concerns by presenting evidence that reveals the true nature of Mr. Osmond's body double.
Good gracious, evidence. Oh, I do hope this isn't filibustering, counsel. The court is expecting a name. If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now.
The body double and the real birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage. Which means that any... Shit, I just accidentally hit the scroll button. Which means that any witnesses would have only seen them from 60 feet away. So who... Damn it, there was more. So who was it that appeared at the explosion some 18 meters above the spectators? Aha! The body double inside the second birdcage was...
Take that!
We know that the victim, Mr. Osmond, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on stage, and therefore he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contained something else. What's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into the crystal tower.
Yes, counsel. According to your somewhat elaborate version of events,
and that body double inside the second birdcage was in fact... It's alright, Mr. Naruto. You're ready for this? Just steel yourself and come out with it. Thank you, Mr. Susato. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was as unbelievable as may seem. That thing there. Did Herlock just drag that in?
Objection!
Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend.
How many like fan fictions do you think were written based on this one line alone?
Now tell me, what are you playing at?
Stand firm now, Rinosuke. This is the time to show your Japanese spirit. As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. A model, in fact, of an infamous London murderer from 10 years ago, the Professor.
Objection!
You started by indicting the leader of the forensic investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you've moved on to indicting waxworks.
Yes, that's about the size of it.
But why? And why this waxwork? It looks nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble him less. What possible justification can you give?
If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber.
What?
Just days before Professor Hairbrain performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Tusspells.
did you say abducted?
And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum.
Then, the timing.
Is this true, Mr. Drebber?
At first, I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and then given it back again. But now, the reason is clear. He took it so that he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double for Mr. Osmond.
Objection!
Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist. That he did so in collusion with the country's finest coroner on a public stage in front of a vast audience. And that, to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim. Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide?
Objection!
Wait. Yes, if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible.
My lord, I need to speak, if you please.
Go ahead, Mr. Foreman.
Myself and my colleagues have reached an agreement.
Very good. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings for the court to hear now.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
He's like guilty. Alright, lads, time for a summation examination.
So, as indicated by the foreman, the jury has reached a consensus.
I knew that was going to happen. We shall get through this, Mr. Naruhodo, as we always do. And uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual, and see if I can persuade them to change their minds.
The defense will now embark on a summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman?
We are, my lord.
Very well. In that case, I ask you now to state clearly for all present to hear the grounds on which each of you has decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime with which he is charged.
Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, the judge's voice like leaves me out of breath. But this is good though. This is good so far. We're making progress.
I've known that woman for years. She'd never been accomplished to anything.
It's utter nonsense to think those two would ever be conniving with one another. Oh dear, this is most troubling. But surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the corner, is it?
I've had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. I've seen no rigorous proof that this wax was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture.
Accusing someone without right evidence is not a proper job, is he? I won't have it.
Okay, so the dude, the science man, we can prove his shit wrong, right? Because we know that there is glass.
Somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems the introduction of this waxwork model of the proceedings has polarized opinions.
Given that its face is obscured and its build in no way resembles that of the victim, I can only applaud my learned friend's temerity at suggesting it as Mr. Bossman's body double.
Yes, the applause is deafening, and yes, I know it seems extraordinary. But that's the point. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto? I can't explain why at this moment, but I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used, why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes, and I'm convinced. It's something far more significant than whether or not the model looked like the victim. If that's the case, we must prevent the trial from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. I have to find a way out of this.
If you are ready, counsel, we proceed with the summation examination.
Yes, my lord. I like that the judge just lets us do it. Like, we don't have to, like, officially say that we would like to request a summation examination. He just knows we're going to do it. It's interesting that we start with him rather than the foreman. It's nice to mix it up, I suppose. I might as well press everyone on my way through. The order of things seems to have changed around here for some reason.
I'm a corporal, lad. It's a corporal's discretion to bend the rules sometimes when needs must. What's wrong with that?
Where do I start?
Been walking out the yard for 40-odd years.
That's even more than I thought.
Only had a Metropolitan Police Service in town for 70 years, you know. Of course, times have changed. But didn't trust corporals back when it started. It's rough. We had to fight crime. To fight to win the public's trust as well. And when we did. Forensic science was in its infancy too, even more than it is now. She spearheaded the revolution.
Dr. Scythe, you mean?
Well, that's right. About 10 years ago now it was. When I was still young as Bobby on the beat.
10 years, 40 years in the force? What? That's when she started making a name for herself as a top-class coroner. And now look at her. Head of the forensic investigation team. A woman, no less. Well, you won't hear me complain. Thought we all dreamt it back then, I tell you. Could you tell me without holding that gun in the air? Oh, top old justice, lad. Full of vim we were. Full of vim. That's, coming across loud and clear. Why, though? They're both scientists, are they not? But we're only just starting to understand this case. What are you reading there, sir? The man behind those murders on Solopone Street was caught 2 days flat. That's real policing for you. That's really not relevant to this case, is it? You're wrong there. Because it was Dr. Scythe in charge of examining the bodies. There was evidence arising from her work that led to the arrest of the scoundrel responsible. Oh. That's right. Oh. That woman is at the forefront of this country's fight against crime. The idea that she's somehow involved in this murky business is a load of old tosh. I thought it was up to me to press the jurors, not the other way around. Why would you assume that? Well, quite simply because that untimely swindler has no relationship with the woman, does he? True. As it stands, we don't know of any connection. Of course, but it would be delightfully romantic if there was someone of a mutual interest in the waxwork. Romantic? A woman of society such as myself views everything in terms of relationships, you know? Well, you learn something new every day, even if you don't want to. One might wonder about a possible relationship between the defendant and this coroner woman. Or perhaps between the defendant and the handsome prosecutor just there? Oh, she's writing the fan fiction. This woman, even more astute than I've been giving her credit for. Excuse you? Oh, the defendant and the prosecutor. Sorry, that makes sense. Sorry, I thought she meant the defense for a second. If that's the woman's stance, then perhaps demonstrating some connection between the waxwork and Dr. Scythe would be enough. Yes, I agree. As soon as we have even a whiff of connection, she'll be the first to know. Okay. He doesn't trust them? Okay, so I mean, we could pit him against people, because there are like 2 people who are big into the police. What sorts of problems? Let's just say we have been running in each other on numerous occasions while we've been performing on the street. Right, I see. Obviously, artists such as myself cannot appear on stage as we work in close proximity to our audiences. So we perform our great magic in parks, on street corners and the like. But the police use any excuse to make our lives difficult.
Excuse me.
Could you not do that? Do you have something to say in response to that, Mr. Automole? What are you calling who are you calling a mass murderer? Sorry, my mistake. I got confused because I heard you look like him. I don't look anything like the man. You won't be locked up, Sonny. Thanks, Mr. Sholmes. Perhaps we could move on. I was really wondering if you had something you wanted to add in response to what juror number 3 just said. And clearly you do. Back in my day. Back in the good old days. It wasn't like this. What was it like, sir? We worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust, we did. And by Jove, we aren't it. People respected us back then. Respected you? No one would have called a coroner into question in them days. A coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right. Especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name to it. She was the best of the best, and the apple of the force's eye. Stevens, you say? Hold on a minute. What are you talking about? Who's Courtney Stevens? Ah, sorry. Got a bit carried away there. Stevens is Dr. Scythe's maiden name. Her maiden name? So that was before she was married? Of course, yes. Silly mate. Scythe now, isn't it? Stevens. I'm sure I've seen that name somewhere recently. Anyway, the point is, those were the great days of policing, not like now. Sorry to interrupt, sir. But do you not think you could change your statement to include that name?
Well, yes, I don't see why not. She was Courtney Stevens back when I knew her, of course. A legendary coroner even then.
So she was the one who did the professor bit. Okay. I don't think we need to press, right? Or do I need to press? She was legendary, was she?
What do you say? That woman is still the best coroner in the land. Head of the forensic investigation team.
Legendary was your description, sir, not mine.
Rubbish. That would never pass my lips. I'd never describe anybody that way, ever. Well, if they were still in the game.
I think the point you're trying to make is that Dr. Size is an extremely talented coroner. Would that be fair?
It would. But one for the fact that you're trying to drag that legendary woman's reputation to the mud.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, legendary. Should I press everyone again? Because this is probably all the same, right? Okay, yeah, this is the same. So I'm just gonna click quickly through. Okay. And then she's talking about a connection. The waxwork has nothing to do with the corner. This, like, if I could present evidence, then yes, it would, right? Can I press it some more now that I know her name is Courtney Stevens? No, I mean there's not really a connection. Like, it's the master and like the master's wax swaddle, so like, there is a connection there, but it's not a connection that she's looking for, I don't think. Okay, I mean, I have one, I just don't know if I can really present evidence to it. You can't present from court record, right? No. Doesn't trust them much. Alright, now this guy, though. But you claimed the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick.
But I did. But there's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of a hat, isn't there?
Sorry?
Oh, crying you. Given that this cage appeared from amidst an explosion, there'd been no need to use a real person. But if a waxwork had been used, the culprit could at least have had the decency to make it look like the victim.
I'm not sure exactly how much criminals are governed by decency.
The point is, if you're going to make a claim about that waxwork being inside the birdcage, you need to give us some evidence. Well, that, it's just not science.
I suppose we should expect nothing less than a logical argument from a fellow of the Royal Society. But that perhaps means his mind could be changed if we managed to present suitable evidence. Evidence that the Professor Waxwork was inside the birdcage. Can I produce that or not? Yes. Actually, I have something I'd like you to see, sir.
Oh? I must warn you that I firmly believe it's only wise to trust men in white coats. So give me your jet black outfit. I don't mind admitting to a sense of trepidation, yep.
So you don't trust anyone in black? Looking in the mirror must be very trying. I do have some evidence that proves the waxwork was inside that birdcage. Namely...
Take that!
What's that? Piece of glass. It's unusually thick for glass.
Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket on the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass though. It's very thick, and clearly made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower.
The Crystal Tower? Holy smoke!
Exactly. The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition, where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass.
From whence this small piece originated. Is that it?
Precisely. So, what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you?
Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule, however. When the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say color should come into it. In light of what you've shown here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your statement now, please.
The presence of that piece of glass leaves me in a little doubt that that waxwork was indeed inside the birdcage. Okay, good. I don't really need to press it, but I will anyway. Thank you for reconsidering your position, sir.
Your words are misplaced, boy. My opinion is governed by logic and science and nothing else. Yes, science is where you should direct your words of gratitude. What's the matter with you? Too good to say some words of thanks to the mother of all academic subjects.
What is it about scientists, honestly? I ask myself that sometimes. It's not a proper job, is he? I won't have it. I've got to ask, why have you brought that corn into court with you? Corn or cob? He's been growing back on the farm. Picked him off on me way into town. He's a proper nibbler, he is. Yes, the nibbling seems to be taking quite a while. Maybe we could wait until after the trial. Ooh, I don't like the sound of that. You need kernels at times like these. When we have something big to decide, kernels always point me in the right direction, see? You're talking about your cob of corn. Nibble, nobble, guilty bubble. Nibble, not guilty out. 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 Perhaps it's akin to fortune telling with flower petals like people do back home. So, Professor Hairbrain's fate is to be decided by a cob of corn. Could you not at least wait until we've had more time to find the truth before deciding on the defendant's guilt? Oh, I don't know about that. My tummy's awfully full already. Amazing. I know it seems a little far-fetched to think that the waxwork mortal the professor was in that birdcage. But on the other hand, it explains a lot. If there really is a reason why that particular waxwork had to be used as Mr. Osmond's double, let's do everything we can to make the jurors understand it. The truth is, I'm sure that that's key to this, but it's the most puzzling part of it too. In that case, you should see what additional information we can glean whilst trying to change the juror's mind. If you can read a book whilst eating a rice cracker, Miss Naruhodo, I'm sure you can do this. Right. Yes. Well, the waxwork hat, like, does this work? Because think about it, right? Like, if the corner is looking at a waxwork body, then, like, clearly she needs to be in on it, right? Is this the proper evidence? So we have the Sky Goes the Courtney Stevens thing, which we have the note about with the master. So that's one thing. And then we have this, and probably the kids thing. Those seem like the two for it. I'm a little bit hesitant to do the glass one about evidence first. Just because, is it this one? Yeah, I think it's this one. Because I think her and who was it? Courtney guy. I think we want this first because I think we need to establish that Courtney Stevens has a relationship to that specific waxwork before we go trying to use it as more evidence. There was two statements clearly contradict each other.
Good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, Counsel?
So, juror number 2. Oh gosh, me. What can I do for you? I presume that you heard what juror number 6 said in his statement. It's brought to light the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Scythe, which in turn has revealed a connection that wasn't apparent before. Well, naturally, as a woman in society, I find such connections and relationships irresistible. But oh golly, I'm afraid I fail to see what you mean. Dr. Scythe's maiden name is Stevens, and through that name, the coroner is very definitely linked to the waxwork of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it. My goodness, evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling.
Counsel, the court cannot overlook that last remark. I very much hope there is substance to your claim.
Of course, my lord. I would ask the court to look at this. The evidence that clearly links Dr. Scythe to the mass murderer known as the Professor. It is the killer's autopsy report.
Take that!
I have here a certain autopsy report from 10 years ago.
A 10-year-old autopsy report? What relevance does that have?
It is, of course, from the autopsy of the person portrayed in the waxwork. The killer known as the Professor.
The Professor? But the man was a capital offender, so...
That's right. This is a certification of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details. But what's important is the name of the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens. Oh my, Courtney Stevens!
Strike a light!
It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Scythe 10 years ago. And a few days ago, Mr. Drebber very deliberately stole the waxwork of the professor from Madame Tusspells. A waxwork that doesn't in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Osmond, at all. And do you suppose there's some unstable relationship between those events? Absolutely. I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that the Professor case is at the heart of a link that we have yet to uncover. Between Dr. Courtney Scythe and Mr. Enoch Drebber. Hidden links, mysterious connections, secret relationships. Oh, this is almost extraordinary. We are surely obliged now to explore this further.
Quite right. Can't let this trial come to an end now. Not while there's a cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best corner. Wasn't like this in my day. But we're still here to uphold justice in the end.
It's the Professor. That's what links this frightful swindler in the corner. Oh, she looks so happy. Look at that. Okay, so now let's go with my other idea, I guess. I don't think it's him. Alright, but we did a bit of glass bit. I think now that we have the other bit of linkage, then maybe we can get Miss Corn on the Cob to swap.
Objection!
I think. Those two statements clearly contradict each other.
Good gracious. To whose statements do you refer, Counsel?
If you could put down your corn for a moment, turn number 5. Oh. Oh, you mean me? You pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence. But the accusation that the waxwork model was inside the second birdcage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense demonstrated to the jurors sitting beside you. Oh, is that right? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand much beside Colonel Corp, to be honest. Of course you don't.
If I could interject here.
Please do, sir.
Now that this assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence, it'd be wrong of me as a man of science not to pursue the matter further.
Okay, that's half. Oh, well, me too then. Sorry, the brainy gentleman says he's right, then he must be. It's like, I don't want to dream of going against Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between the ears. Wow. Success! If you can call it that.
Thank you, Counsel. That would do. As a result of the summonation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now call guilty, against 4 who call not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time. The trial must continue. Sorry, I just burped. That just kind of came out of me. I apologize.
We did it! Oh, well done, Mr. Navajodo. Another wonderful victory.
Oh, waxworker, the despicable professor, used as a body double for the victim in this quite extraordinary case. I must say it's extremely hard to believe the assertion could possibly be true. However, it appears that it does at least warrant further investigation.
It's the waxwork of the professor that links Mr. Drebber and Dr. Scythe. And I'm convinced that there's a special significance to that link.
I don't know what you're hoping to prove, lad. I really don't.
The truth, sir. By using evidence and testimony.
If the court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case, then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness.
The owner?
Madame Tusspells.
Is it? Sorry, have I been saying it the wrong this whole time? Like, is it Tusspells? Not Tusspells? I've been assuming it's Tusspells. I really thought that Lord Fonziques would object to this whole line of inquiry.
Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame Tusspells to appear as a witness with immediate effect.
Listen carefully, my learned friend.
Yes?
You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box.
The court shall now adjourn for 45 minutes. During that time, the prosecution will summon the new witness and prepare her for taking the stand.
Madame Tusspells, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord.
Can we just, like, interrupt her workday and pull her in? That's kind of rude. To be continued. And yes, to be continued. We've been going for nearly 2.5 hours, and it's a bit late for me. So I need to pause here. But we will continue on a different day. Excuse me. As you can see, I'm getting tired. So definitely time to call it quits for now. But yeah, good stuff so far, really, I think. Been fun so far. I definitely screwed. I was wrong about trying to say that Tusspells was the accomplice, right? But at least she's coming to the stand next, so it's not like I was totally off base to try to get her involved in the courtroom, I guess. But it is weird because, like, trying to think of like why, like what's this all connecting with, you know, like what could. Why would seeing the fake body of the professor make Dr. Scythe, who's this like big person who's super duper into justice and all that other shit, like why would it make her lie about who was in the coroner's report, or who was in the cage? Sorry, in her coroner report. And then like, so like Drebber saw the master. Saw the professor. Professor? Yeah, the professor come out of the grave or whatever, according to that waxwork, right? So he knows. Drebber knows that they're not dead.
It makes me wonder if it's like the face under the mask is Odie Osmond. Like Odie Osmond is the what's his face, and he's just been alive, and like maybe he had like Courtney Scythe underneath his thumb or something. I don't know. We're gonna find out next time, but it leaves a lot to think about, I suppose. So, any hoodles, I will. Gosh, I will see you later when I'm not tired and you know, yawning so much. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'm gonna try to do another Remnant stream with Dr. Tran and maybe my brother if he's around, because that would be nice to do. I've enjoyed doing co-op with them. Thursdays are kind of my social day, so if people try to get a hold of me and try to do something, then I might get roped into that, so that I don't know when I'll actually be able to stream. But we'll see. I'll try to tweet about it if anything changes, as per usual. Otherwise, on this upcoming Friday, I don't really have a specific plan in mind. I do want to return to the Pikmin 4 demo that I was playing, because I haven't actually gotten a chance to yet. But who knows? Maybe I will. We'll see what I do on Friday. It could be something as simple as like more Remnant co-op if I don't do it on Thursday, because it's really fun. Or I could boot up my FGO alt account and we could play some Nerofest and do a teensy bit of farming, because we're not going to get very far, to be completely honest. But it wouldn't hurt to roll a couple boxes on the alt account just for QP and other useful things. So we'll see. I'll figure it out. But I hope you all have a good rest of your night, rest of your day, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and I will see you all later. So thanks for watching.